Hello everyone, this is Jackie Williams and I'm so pleased you're joining me for our global video blog hop for Stampin' Up! Demonstrators in March. And our theme this month is spring flowers, and I wanted to use the new Ornate Garden Suite. Now this hasn't yet been released, but it will be in just a few days. So just first want to show you the beautiful 12 by 12 papers that has the metallic gold in it. And then there is the option of the Ornate Thanks stamp set along with the Ornate Frames dies, and these are very detailed and beautiful. There is also can include the Ornate Style floral set along with the Ornate Borders dies, and I do love these. We've had, I've been missing some border dies for a little while, so I'll make good use of those. And then there's also the option to purchase the Ornate Floral Embossing folder. Now I do have the actual folder, but I thought you could see it a little bit better with the black and white wrapper. And then there's some old olive and terracotta tile ribbon and these beautiful gold faceted gems. So let's get started with our card. First, I'll show you our finished project. I thought it would be nice to make a beautiful thank you card using basically very vanilla and mint macaron with black. And inside you've got the beautiful thank you sayings. And in this particular time in March 2020, where we don't have a lot of physical contact with people, I thought the "so here's a card" was quite appropriate. So let's start with making the front of the card. So I have here a piece of 5.5 inches by about 4 inches of watercolor paper. You could also use the shimmer white. Now I'm going to use this particular border from the Borders dies, and you want to get that positioned fairly near to that bottom edge, like so. Then when we remove that die, we're going to have all this detail and these little pieces to pull out. Now there's some little like leaf sort of pieces that you can pull out, if I can get it out, that look like this. And I wouldn't throw those away. Those could be quite useful for something else or for the next card that you make with this suite. Then once all of those little pieces are pulled out, you'll have this beautiful floral border with some little dots and things. I just love the detail on this. Then we're just going to do a little background wash, and I'm going to use mint macaron. Squeeze the bottom of your ink pad with your thumbs along the back, and when you open it up, you'll have a little pool of water there. I find it's helpful, oopsies, to get this a little bit wet first, not soaking wet, but just a little wet. And then you pick up your ink and add that on your watercolor paper. Now you can also use shimmer white for this. And you can make that as dark or as light as you want, but you just want a little spot of color like so. Then you can let that air dry or use your heat tool to dry it a little quicker. Okay, now we're ready for our stamping, and I'm choosing to use the Stamparatus just in case something goes wrong. After the die cutting and the watercolor wash, I want to be able to use this one. So I'm going to use staz-on. If it's completely dry, you could probably get away with Memento, but I'm just using staz-on because it's a sure thing, basically. We'll stamp that "So Grateful" down. It's stamped out quite nicely. And then the "For All You Do," and this font is just so lovely. Now with these photopolymers, you want to just make sure it's tapped down, but don't squash it down, because then the stamp tends to spread out, and then you may not get as crisp and clear of an image as you want. I think that stamps up so beautifully. Okay, now I think we will close this and then assemble our card. So I have a piece of the shimmer white. You could use watercolor paper, but you don't need to. It's 5.5 by 4 1/4. And I have a little piece of about 1 inch of mint macaron, And then I've also taken another one of the dies from the Ornate Borders die set and just cut a little piece of black. Okay, then just trim off those ends like so. And then we will adhere this inside the card like so. And we'll stamp our words. So here's a card in the staz-on, and you can put that wherever you think looks best. I kind of like down here. Again, gorgeous font. Now that I've made a little kind of a binding for the card, so it's just really it's just a 1 inch by 5.5 inch piece of mint macaron cardstock, and I've scored it at the 1/2 inch or the halfway mark to fold in half. Then I've put the same black die border that we used on the inside of the card. I've put that on to one side of this little binding that we're making, and just trim those off. Oops. So the ends are neat and tidy. And then we will position the front so that it's sitting about where you want it to sit. And we're just going to sandwich this around those two pieces. The reason why we couldn't make it like a traditional card is because then you couldn't die cut this piece in the direction that I wanted it to go. So we're just going to make like a front piece and a back piece and then create a little binding to put them together. And it's a little bit of a different way to make a card anyway. It's something a little bit fun. So your inside will look like that, and you'll have that little bit of mint macaron showing, which is nice too. Then to embellish the front, first I'm going to take a little bit of the shaded spruce. We're going to grab our aqua painter again and make sure the water's running. I'm just going to grab a bit of that ink, and you can tap this with your finger, or you can take the lid and flick it. I prefer the tapping method, or you can skip this altogether if you're not confident and just do a little bit of a splatter. So I didn't do a lot, but there's just a little, now some little dark green specks through there. Then to embellish, we're just gonna do a couple of little things. So in the Ornate Borders die set, there are 3 little flowers. And I cut those out of the watercolor paper. You could also use the shimmer paper as you wish. And then I also cut that same border out of the mint macaron because I wanted to get these little wispy, leafy bits out of there. And we'll use those. So grab my glue, do the largest flower, and just adhere that wherever you think looks about right. Do the medium flower. Oops, I just smeared one of my dots, but it looks fine anyway. Medium flower, and then do the small flower up here. Oops. And then we just need to add some of the green leaves. So I'm just going to make these a little smaller, and then I'll just tuck that up under like so. And then I think for the small flower, we'll grab this little one. And tuck you in like so. And then let's take our gold faceted gems, and we'll do a medium-sized gem on the big flower, and then a small one, and then another small one. There we go. So there's the original one. So nice for a little thank you card or for a hug in the mail for someone who might be alone or struggling at this time. And I hope you've enjoyed that and try some of those techniques. And again, look out in the next few days for that Ornate Garden bundle. So this is Jackie Williams. Thanks for joining me, and please click on the link below for